ready to turn the page to the Voyager documentary?
Okay.
This guy's ready.
We have 3 different ones. They've all been put together for different reasons, but I thought since we're so close to for this being finally done, that instead of just bringing you 1 little sneak peek, we'd bring you 3. So no one else in this country at any convention has seen all 3 of these at the same time. So, and I just want to give a shout out to Garrett Wong, has been like our ambassador for this project. He's been so great. He's done so much for us. He's traveled the world, which you will see in this in the 3rd snippet here. So next time you see Garrett, just make sure you tell him thank you so much, because he really has been a real champion for this project. So anyway, here we go. I think we have something with Miss Jeri Ryan coming up here.
I remember Rick Colby with a special fondness because he was my first director that I worked with on my first scene, and he helped me find the physicality of 7, but I wasn't real sure how to move, and he gave me the vision of a Prussian general. So it was that shoulders back, arms down, you don't really move, chest thrust out, that's who she is.
Jeri gave a burst of life to the show, because by that point in the show, you really are sort of struggling for how do we write something new about these characters that we've already had for a few years, and not just for her character, but the way all the other characters reacted to her. So it put Janeway in a different role, a doctor, and she had this really interesting relationship.
Hi there.
Hello.
Come here often?
This is my first time.
May I buy you a drink?
I don't require a liquid supplement at this time.
The doctor takes it upon himself to teach 7 how to be human. He thinks he's a better teacher of how to be human than a real human.
It might have been a little too close in style and form and the way that she played it to my character.
Tim and I both, I think, had the same initial concern when they started putting our characters together for scenes, because we both had that very monotone, non-emotional read.
She and the writers worked on expanding that and giving her more human emotions and dynamics in terms of her personality.
The character was brought in to invigorate the show, and I wanted every character to have their own different kind of relationship with 7. I think it worked.
Brandon created this character. He, if not wrote, then kind of rewrote almost every word that I ever uttered as 7 on Voyager. So I really can only thank him for that.
Thank you. I believe the next one is featuring Ethan Phillips, if I'm not mistaken.
Not Ethan Phillips. Oh my God, that
That
guy
guy,
is. He
Bob
is a
Phillips.
menace.
Welcome, Ethan Phillips!
I went to the doctor and he didn't bother to take an x-ray. He just held me up to the light. This guy told me my blood type was discontinued. See, honest to God truth.
He should have become a stand-up comedian, and he would have been one of the greats.
My great uncle was a stand-up comic, Joe Phillips. He was a vaudeville comic. And he would come to our house when I was a little boy, my dad's brother. And I'd see him on Ed Sullivan or Jack Parr when he would tell the joke. For me, it was like magic. So then I started collecting jokes. It's kind of like Tourette's.
When we were looking for the character of Neelix, who was going to be our one little bit of comedy in terms of casting, Ethan was a shoo-in.
I knew who he was from seeing him in Benson.
Uh-oh, we're talking threat here. We're talking cement overshoes. We're talking Solar and Stewie.
Really?
I wouldn't laugh this off, Clayton. Till you find out who that was, you better have Pete start your car in the morning.
Right.
He did wonders in helping us create the character of Neelix.
400 years into the future, and due to some unexplained phenomenon, the crew of the USS Voyager is lost in space. And among others, a 24th century homeless junk collector named Neelix, who in real life spends half his working day getting
ugly.
If you think about it, he had the hardest job because he had to show up 3 hours before we did. He had to stay 2 hours later than we did because of all the makeup.
That man is a saint, I will say this, because you talk about prosthetics. The only part of him that was exposed, I think, was his bottom lip and like a little strip of his chin. Everything, including contacts, was covered.
You don't realize how much you touch yourself during the day, your face and your contacts, and you can't when that's on. For 16 hours, it still is a sweet job. And I still am glad I was a makeup character in that show.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting when you do see the final product. By the way, these sizzles, what we call, were made specifically to show you guys at these events. So that doesn't mean that entire section will be like that in the film. So you may see something that won't end up in the film in that exact form. So you'll have to remember what you watched.
Yeah, there may be extended versions or
Yep.
shorter versions of the rest in extras, but these are nice little chunks of the interviews. And by the way, when you're talking about interviews, I wanted to point out that every one of these actors and cast and crew, behind the scenes people, they really gave us everything they had. They would say, okay, I've got a half an hour, and they would stay for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Or they would come in and we'd think, this guy's stiff. He's not going to give us a lot, and he would make us cry. And
Robert Beltran. for
you knew,
one.
how did you know?
Yes, Robert was probably, we talk about this a lot, probably in the top 5 of the best interviews we had for Voyager. Surprisingly so. I mean, he's a great guy, Robert. And, but
Bobby.
he just was really, Bobby, in the mood to sit and chat that day. And we thought, okay, like he said, a half hour, 2 hours went by and he was still talking about his high school coach and started, tearing up. It was quite something.
We even had PAs, security people,
Yeah.
assistants, you name it. Everybody came, everybody told us everything they remembered. They opened up their hearts. They were really, really just open and honest and willing to share. And it makes for such a great product.
So we'll show you the next piece, and then I think we'll have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions afterwards, please don't hesitate to ask. It can be about this or anything Star Trek, I suppose. This next one is one that you'll see a lot of me in there. I don't think you'll see a lot of me in the end, which is fine. But we shot it. We wanted to show the history of Paramount and the history of Gene Roddenberry on the Paramount lot. So we spent a day with Garrett and Brian Fuller, who was one of the most creative writers Voyager had and one of my dear friends, and he's great, and he's very much behind the project. And we had a very fun-filled day at the lot, and so this is what you'll see next. Thank you.
This is really bringing back memories.
So we're going right by 89.
Yeah.
All of the cast trailers were here.
Jeri Ryan's was to the left, right?
And Jeri Ryan's was right next to those stairs because I remember I got in trouble for talking to her once.
I can't believe it. That is insane. Wow.
Yeah, I was told not to interact with the actors while they're working. And what was great is that they told me not to do it, and Jeri heard them tell me not to do it. And Jeri said, you can talk to me all you want. And we talked for a little bit, and I was like, I think they're waiting for you. And she was like, then they shouldn't have been rude.
Oh, no.
Here we come into the famous Hart building.
So
My old home away from home.
great episodes of television
Yes.
conceived in this building.
There was Gene Roddenberry was at that first office there.
Gene's office was the one right there.
There were a lot of late nights here.
If we look back here, we can see the Hollywood sign from here.
And behind us is Stage 19, where we did Flotter's Magical Forest. Neelix's story for Naomi Waldman.
This is Gene Roddenberry's office for all the years.
This was the actual office.
And this was Michael Pillar's office.
Yes, that became Michael Pillar's office once Gene passed away. I was here for Voyager. This was my
Janet.
assistant, Janet Nemetchek's office.
Janet was there.
Yes.
Okay.
This was my office.
To the left here, 105. Therefore, your email address has that in. Yes.
And for many years, this was Jeri Taylor's office. When she left, it became
This Michael Taylor.
Michael Taylor's
Yeah,
office.
so it remained a Taylor.
It's so crazy to see an empty soundstage. It's you know what I'm saying, without anything on it. But this stage was actually used for various Star Trek incarnations, feature film, television show.
That's how long Star Trek has been on the Paramount lot.
Yeah.
None of us would be here if it weren't for Gene Roddenberry.
No, most definitely. We have to thank Gene for his vision of the utopian future that he painted for us, and I would not be here either without Gene.
The entire Star Trek universe has inspired so many people. It's inspired all of us. It's inspired everybody who is watching this, and we owe the man a huge debt of gratitude.
We do.
So thank you, Gene Roddenberry, for Star Trek and all of your various dalliances.
So yeah, there's 3 completely different pieces there. So again, we're very proud of it. We're anxious to get it out to you all. And yeah, like I said, just keep an eye on the website, and hopefully some of you can actually get tickets and come to New York or LA, wherever you're based out of, and make a little holiday out of it, and come see this film. So we're very happy with it. But
yeah, so at this point, if anybody has any questions at all about any of the productions or any questions with regards to the things you just saw, just go ahead and line up right here. We're happy to answer them. But while we're waiting for that, those were 3 completely different clips. And I really like that because it shows just the scope of this documentary that's coming out. I find myself wondering, where's this going to go? It feels like a roller coaster because there's comedy, there's the female aspect, as you mentioned. We're doing a whole trip down memory lane with Paramount. I feel like the extras are going to just be through the roof.
yeah, and the film too. I mean, there's just great sections with Rick Berman and Jerry Taylor, of course, who co-created it. Michael Piller, of course, has passed on, but our editor, Joe, he went back and found some amazing footage of interviews of Michael Piller that you haven't seen all that yet.
No, I haven't seen those.
So, and really made it seem like Michael was really still with us. He did a fantastic job editing it all together. So, and then there's a part, I thought I had it here, but I didn't. Garrett actually was hosted by the ESA in France and went up and to the zero gravity space thing with them. And
He's very brave.
Very brave, and we've got all of that to show you in there, which is going to be really cool. So, yeah, there's a lot.
Looks like we got a couple questions
Yes, we
here.
do.
Want to start with the first one?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we saw a clip of Ethan Phillips from I'm sorry, I forgot the name of that program, but how much trouble did you have, thank you, Vincent, did you have much trouble like clearing stuff that was non-Paramount to be into the doc?
That's a good
Benson,
question.
right? Benson.
Yeah, like
with Renee Auberjonois, by the way.
Yeah, you know, that's not something that I deal with, but I know that 455 and Joe, our editor, is very by the book. So I'm not sure. I mean, I know how it works when we have to use CBS or Star Trek clips. That's a good question. I really don't know if that stuff is in public domain or not. And I'll have to ask Joe that. I honestly don't know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was wondering if these are going to be in theaters like the Deep Space Nine feature was, or is it going to go straight to streaming?
Sure hope so.
You know, at this point, quite honestly, we don't have a plan for the theater like we did for DS9. That doesn't mean it won't happen. And again, we want to get these November screenings out, especially for all the backers who have been so patient. And then, as Ryan said, there'll be the DVD and there'll be streaming. I would love to see it in the theaters. The big problem that I think we were facing, and I don't know the last time it was researched, but with COVID and theaters shutting, I mean, it was a really big problem for us to even book the 3 theaters that we're going into for the screening. Prices have skyrocketed. I can't tell you how much Paramount's charging us, which is insane because it's a Paramount.
You can tell us.
No, I'm not going to. But so even in my hometown, I live in Northern California in the San Francisco Bay Area, we just had 4 huge chains of theaters closed last month. So I don't know where the whole theater release stands. But again, if you keep an eye on the website, hopefully, I'd love to go. I'd love to see it happen.
Yeah, basically it's going to be, we're going to try to get it in theaters, it's going to be streaming, we're going to be pitching it and trying to sell it everywhere and get the distribution. We're not there yet, but that's the hope, that's the plan. And I mean, the Deep Space Nine documentary was able to do it. As Lolita said, it's a different climate now, but yes. I think that we still can still work it out and figure something out.
Yes.
I was just wondering if anybody's working on anything that way, 30 years down the road, we get these kind of documentaries for Discovery or Strange New Worlds.
Oh, well, my Discovery documentary is going to be out in February. No, he's asking if we have some documentaries in the works for like the newer shows. Is that right?
Well, just like
if anybody's kind of planning ahead to save anything for historical value. I mean, I know a lot of it's, CG nowadays, but, I was watching this as a late teen, and here I am in my 40s. In my 70s, am I going to be here, watching David Ajala talk about his career?
Well, I hope so.
Well, you will be watching David Ajala talking about his
now.
career in like 7 minutes, so stay tuned for that, everybody, by the way.
I can answer part of what I think you're asking. As far as 455 films goes, we have no plans to do anything at this point with any of the current shows. That doesn't mean that won't happen down the road. We would like to have our next adventure be the Enterprise documentary.
Yeah, did somebody say road, like a long road?
Yes.
Would you like to see an Enterprise documentary next?
So that would be logically the next step in the picture. So we shall see it. We've spoken to many of the cast members. They're up for it. So it's a matter of money, timing, getting the right people at the right place, and so forth and so on. So, which isn't always easy to do.
It's funny. There was something in the air that changed about 30 seconds ago. Suddenly it just started getting happier and more talented in here. And then I looked to the right and I saw Doug Jones sneaking behind there. And so now we know what's going on. So in just a few minutes, and we'll get to this in a bit, but remember, just a few minutes, we've got the uber talented Doug Jones, Elias Tufexis, and David Ajala coming out. So do not leave. Don't get any Cheez-Its or any snacks, because these are the 3 most talented people that I've known. And I've known 6 talented people in my life.
Don't you say that before every panel, though?
I do, but they don't know that. I just want them to hear that.
Okay, so I want to plug the Rat Pack for tomorrow night. How many of you are coming? Listen, tomorrow night's Rat Pack show is one for history because Max is sick and wasn't able to travel here. Max lives in Austria. Most of you know that by now. And his doctor would not let him fly. And so we're wishing him well. So the guys are without Max tomorrow night. It'll be a great show. They're adding some stuff. They're changing some stuff. They're going to pretend they're Max a couple times.
Well, that'll be fun.
Yeah, exactly. So please.
Jeff Combs can play Max Credentia.
Yes, he can. He played a Ferengi. So I understand that you have to pay to come see it. So if you haven't bought your ticket for the Rat Pack, please do. I promise you have a fun night. So I think we have one more question.
I don't know if this is in your purview or not, but what would be the chances of getting a box set of Gene's pilots?
A box set of Gene's pilots?
Yeah, like Earth to
Wow.
things like that.
I don't know about that.
That's way off my...
It's a great idea, though.
It is. I don't even know where. I think you'd have to find... That'd have to go through his estate, through his son, I bet. Yeah.
Andromeda.
Yeah. There was a few stuff. But, well, thank you. Any last parting words? Thank you for sitting here
a couple
watching.
things. Can you tell everybody what the Rat Pack is for anybody that has not heard of it?
Well, you saw a little bit of the Rat Pack on that sizzle that we showed you with Ethan. That was the Rat Pack performing on the Star Trek cruise. That's why there was 5,000 people in that audience, which is an awesome feeling. The Rat Pack is a show that we put together about 12 years ago. And for those of you who are old enough to know who the original Rat Pack are or were, this was actually created to follow in their footsteps. But it's all with Star Trek parody and Star Trek songs. And these guys class it up in their tuxedos and their cocktails. And it's really a lot of fun. And honestly, we've been doing it in Vegas for the last 13 years now. And some people come just for Sunday night to see the Rat Pack. So if you can swing coming tomorrow night and you haven't already bought your ticket, please, please come. I promise you, you'll have a good time.
Wasn't the Rat Pack your idea?
Yeah, but you didn't have to say that. Thank you.
So